Le premier jour où j'ai pris mon rôle, on avait 8 joueurs dans l'effectif, on n'avait pas d'entraîneur, on n'avait pas de terrain d'entraînement, on n'avait pas d'argent. Et mon président me dit « je veux monter en Ligue 1 ».
Football has been played within the lines for some time now. There have been some exceptions lately, thankfully, but for the most part, the same teams are winning, the same teams are playing in the European competitions, the same teams are signing luxurious talents. In fact, variety itself has almost become a luxury, with the financial gap being the main issue. The rich get richer, the up-and-comers struggle to break through. But then a team like Stade Brestois 29 comes along. This club is the definition of overperformance and patience. Where some have been able to fast-track success, Stade Brestois has been building slowly since their return to Ligue in 2019. Building to the point where a club who was previously known for simply surviving in Ligue will now be playing in Europe.
We were supposed to play for just to stay in the league and nothing else. So when we were on top, we were just laughing at it and laughing at everyone else.
And not just any European competition, but the Champions League, the peak of European club football, despite not having a stadium that can even accommodate those fixtures.
Mais je sais très bien que ce sont des choses qui peut-être arriveront une fois dans la vie quand on est dans un club comme Brest où on a peu de moyens.
When you speak of Stade Brestois in this season, you speak of an achievement that was never supposed to happen. Stade Brestois was able to stay in the European places throughout the 2023-24 season, despite having a coach that hadn't, coached in over a decade, with a budget that is smaller than 72% of the clubs they share Ligue 1 with, and 8th place being the highest finish in their Ligue 1 history. Brest itself is almost ignored by the rest of the country.
Brest is really different. Hard-working class. We're really proud of our city.
On apprécie beaucoup cette saison et on est très fiers de ce qu'on a pu faire cette année.
This is a season that won't be forgotten. This is the greatest underdog story in European football. But how did they do it? Now, the big question, why Stade Brestois 29? Why go to the westernmost point in France to film a mini documentary? I started tracking Stade Brestois around late December, early January, that time in the season where the fakes fall off and the clubs that are really trying to do something continue on. They had just gone unbeaten in 8 matches, getting a 2-2 draw away to PSG. I still didn't believe that this was anything more than just a flash-in-the-pan moment, but as time went on, I couldn't help but be captivated by the scrappy club that just refused to lose matches. 8 unbeaten turned to 9, then 10, all the way to 13 matches without a loss before RC Lens stopped them. This team that I had only ever known as relegation fodder previously was suddenly second only to PSG in Ligue 1, and in contention to make history with Champions League qualification. And then, down the rabbit hole I went, learning about the club in the region, and before I knew it, BR Football and Ligue 1 provided me with an opportunity I couldn't say no to. Brest isn't the sexiest destination for players. Don't take it from me, the guy who'd only been there for a few minutes. Take it from Brest's sporting director of 8 years now, Grégory Lorenzi.
On est loin, il pleut, c'est pas facile.
We'll hear more from him later though. He deserves much more than to be relegated to a local weatherman. The city was all but wiped out during World War II and had to be rebuilt. That's why Brest doesn't really look like a typical French town. They had to reset the board. And despite being rebuilt physically, Brest and its people feel as though they've never made it back into the French public consciousness. They're a bit isolated geographically, and that comes across culturally as well. Brest itself takes it further, as they feel different from the rest of Brittany.
We are not defending Brittany values, we are defending values from Brest. Hard-working class. We're really proud of our city, but also feeling we are so different, so far away from everyone.
That's Jan, by the way.
Jan.
Jan.
Basically, it's quite simple.
Jan, perfect, okay.
Jan and his friends have a podcast called Brest on Air. I met one of their other members, Quentin, as well. We actually took part in the age-old Brittany tradition of trading a hockey cap for a football cap. Don't fact-check that tradition. Now, without going all history of the world 3-part anthology on you, Stade Brestois 29 is an interesting club because it wasn't an amalgamation of 2 clubs, nor 3, nor 4, but 5. As the club grew, they meandered their way to the top division, but they continued to do it their way, the Brest way possible. Sorry.
We're really proud of it and really proud to be different. The club is owned by local partners. There is absolutely no one who is coming from outside the Brest agglomeration. We are really proud of this.
One of the previous peaks in their history came in the 80s when they managed to finish 8th in Ligue 1. Until this past season, that was their record highest finish. But all that came crashing down in a very Leeds-esque way, as the owner started getting intoxicated by ambition.
He started to buy some really expensive player, really huge player coming from Brazil. We are coming from Argentina. We had 2 players that won the World Cup, for instance, which is absolutely crazy. At the time, Brest was between 2nd and 1st division. We really can say that Brest just had solid ambition and maybe too solid ambition because that leads to the really downfall.
Brest were dropped from the 1st division to the 3rd division in 1993, a knockout punch that left them out of Ligue 1 for 17 years, only returning in 2010. From then on, they clambered to stay in Ligue 1. They dropped to Ligue 2 for a few seasons, then make their way back up and repeat the process. But that all changed once a Stade Brestois player swapped his kit for a suit. In 2016, Stade Brestois were still in Ligue 2 and were in need of a sporting director. At this time, Grégory Lorenzi was still just 32 years old and still a defender for Stade Brestois.
C'est vrai qu'au départ, quand le président m'a donné cette possibilité, c'était difficile parce que je n'avais pas encore prévu d'arrêter, je souhaitais encore continuer à jouer. Et finalement, mon président m'a dit moi j'ai besoin de quelqu'un qui est prêt à me structurer le club et à monter un projet sportif. Et je souhaiterais que ça soit toi.
A sudden switch from player to sporting director would be a difficult transition as is. But with the state that Stade Brestois were in, Lorenzi was handed a task that even the most experienced sporting director would struggle with.
On avait 8 joueurs dans l'effectif, on n'avait pas d'entraîneur, on n'avait pas de terrain d'entraînement, on n'avait pas d'argent. Et mon président me dit je veux monter en Ligue 1. Je ne vais pas dire il est fou, mais il est pas dans la réalité.
This is like someone handing you a hammer, nails, and some sheet metal and saying, hey pal, build me a space shuttle, I'd like to visit the moon. But those insane demands did indeed become their reality. And especially when you consider where Stade Brestois are now, Lorenzi has, in a sense, taken them to the moon. And yes, they of course have a training ground now, but it's all very Stade Brestois. It's all very Brest. Humble, down to earth. The training sessions aren't guarded by towering walls. Anyone and everyone can stroll in to watch them train, and they do exactly that. All of this part of meticulous planning and building from Lorenzi and the board.
Et c'est vrai que quand on est un club comme Brest avec peu de moyens, le plus important était bien évidemment d'avoir des idées où petit à petit on a structuré, on a consolidé aussi le projet sportif, on a recruté des joueurs pour pouvoir justement densifier ce noyau-là. Et au bout de 3 ans, on a eu la chance de monter en première division.
To put things into perspective, based on wage estimates, Stade Brestois' wage bill is about 5% that of PSG's. 5%. And so the biggest challenge at a club like Stade Brestois, balance. Balancing between having enough money to build out your squad while simultaneously achieving good results so you can sell off players to continue building out your squad. Everything is linked and the margins are razor thin. So thin that often you will lose your best talents each season. The summer of 2023 was no exception.
Et le président m'a demandé à ce que financièrement on puisse vendre un joueur parce qu'il était vital pour le club de pouvoir gagner de l'argent. Et j'ai vendu notre meilleur joueur, Franck Honora, et on m'a annoncé que j'avais pas le droit de recruter. Quand je dis pas le droit, c'est que j'avais pas les moyens pour pouvoir constituer une équipe. Et j'avais 7 joueurs que je devais aller chercher pour renforcer cette équipe.
Another example of a player that Lorenzi signed in order to sell later on would be Romain Fèvre, signing him for 350,000 euros and 2 years later receiving around 16 million euros from Lyon after all fees and bonuses. Signings like Romain Fèvre and Franck Honorat, as well as their inevitable sales, are what keeps the club going financially and in turn on the sporting side. It's all intertwined. In the same window that he signed Fèvre, he also made one of his sporting stability signings, Steve Mounié. Mounié is one of Stade Brestois' record signings at 5 million euros, equal to that of goalkeeper Marc Bizot. Mounié has been with the club since he joined from Huddersfield in 2020, so he's witnessed how the club has evolved season upon season. But even then, the change from last season's survival to this season's European qualification was something the squad themselves were never expecting.
To be fair, we didn't have any pressure because we weren't programmed for that. We were supposed to play to stay in the league, just to stay in the league and nothing else.
From top to bottom, from the board to the squad, everyone understands their assignment. They know that Ligue 1 survival is paramount to everything. Season upon season, Stade Brestois have always been a favorite for relegation. Their highest finish since returning to Ligue 1 in 2019 was 11th. And you only have to go back 20 years to find Stade Brestois in France's 3rd division.
Did you expect this season at all? Did anyone expect this season at all?
Absolutely not. And if you find someone that just say, oh, I forgot it, it's a liar.
From a club that goes by the nickname of Team Pirate and has a pirate as their club mascot at matches, this idea of Stade Brestois stealing points in European places from much bigger and certainly much richer clubs in France is quite fitting.
When we were on top, we were just laughing at it and laughing at everyone else, at the other team, the other big team that are not in our spot, the spot we are stealing from them, if I can say.
But their success is still confusing for those who follow French football, and even for their own supporters, as just last season, they sacked their head coach in October and took a few months to appoint a new one.
We had a very difficult season. We spent half of the season at the last position.
Lorenzi appointed a coach out of the blue in January of 2023, Eric Roy. Roy hadn't been the head coach of any club for 11 years. In that time, he had taken on sporting director roles in France and England and worked some punditry jobs here and there. It's fair to say that everyone was surprised by Lorenzi's appointment.
Et moi, je voulais apporter quelque chose de nouveau. Et quand j'avais rencontré Eric, par rapport au feeling que j'ai eu et par rapport à ce qu'avait besoin mon vestiaire, il me semblait l'entraîneur qui pouvait leur apporter ce dont ils n'avaient pas, ce dont ils avaient perdu. Ça a surpris beaucoup de gens parce que personne ne s'attendait à ce que je choisisse Eric Roy. Aujourd'hui, force est de constater que ça a été la bonne personne.
Roy kept the team alive in Ligue 1, going on a great run to end the season in 14th. Stade Brestois then started the 23-24 season quite well, and Roy even joked about playing in the Champions League.
Prêt à jouer l'Europe? Oui, mais bien sûr, on joue d'ailleurs la Champions League, nous, on l'a annoncé avant le début du championnat, donc il n'y a pas de problème, pour l'instant on est dans les temps.
Funny how things have all panned out. Qualification for the Conference League would have been historic. Europa League, an unbelievable achievement. And the Champions League, they wouldn't have even dared to dream about the Champions League, and now they're in it. When you consider the talent they lost and how they didn't have any additional funds to spend on incoming transfers, it's all the more incredible, all the more confusing. So what did Roy do to lift this team from relegation fighters to Champions League qualification? Sometimes the hardest questions have the simplest answers.
He came with a different approach from the manager we had before. He brought the confidence back, he helped the player to play at their best level.
It's not easy, but it's important to know exactly what the player need at this moment, you know.
He can make everyone feels important in the team, and if you keep everyone motivated, then they will help you in some games, and that's where he is very good.
With his facetious Champions League prediction in mind, it was almost as if Roy had spoken their fate into existence. Wins began to stack, and as former powers in the league struggled to put results together, Stade Brestois continued to defy the odds.
As a team, we were like, okay, we need to get out of these 4 games, we need to get 7 points. Out of these 4 next game, 6 points. And we did that the whole season and kept us at the top of the league as well.
To tell you the truth is impossible for me, for the staff, for the people, for the fan and everything to project what's happened this season, you know, and now everybody is happy.
Their greatest run was the aforementioned 13-match unbeaten streak during the winter. Everyone, even Stade Brestois supporters, were waiting for them to come crashing back down to earth. But it took a long time to happen.
In the dressing room, we were laughing about the fact that we could play the Champions League and everything. But the more the season went, the more we were like, oh guys, maybe it's not funny anymore. Maybe it's true. Maybe we can get it.
And this positive attitude is consistent. The power of positivity has helped them.
I think the game against Lyon was a great game as well. Yeah.
The game Mounié is talking about is actually a 4-3 loss to Lyon, which came at a time when they hadn't secured European football yet. It was a great game to them, not a great tragedy or a reason to panic and be negative. Why?
All the game we lost, for example, 7 games during the season, nobody show us like is really, really better than us. The way we lose this game, it gives the confidence of the team also.
This kind of belief is what led to Stade Brestois' direct qualification into the Champions League. No playoff required, as the team with the 5th lowest wage bill in Ligue 1 had completed one of the greatest feats in Europe's 2023-24 season. For his part, Iroquois was awarded Coach of the Year in France, and his club, they'll be rewarded with the funds that come with the Champions League qualification.
Le plus important est de garder déjà son unité, son noyau de joueurs qui sont là et qui ont permis justement de vivre cette aventure. Pour moi, le premier combat, ça sera de garder mes joueurs, garder cette identité. Moi, je veux une équipe qui va aussi se battre pour le championnat.
There are no delusions of this season suddenly propelling them to Champions League royalty, that they can now rub shoulders with the best of them.
We don't have exceptional players. It's really a team. It's a hardworking team, just like Brest. Actually, they're hardworking, they're not bragging a lot, they're working in the shadows.
The success this season won't change their approach for the next one either. The target will still be to stay in Ligue 1 and solidify their place as a mainstay even more so. Will they improve their squad? Of course, but they won't view the Champions League as much more than an experience for the club and players to enjoy. To see their qualification as a sudden change of status or to change their growth plan would be irresponsible.
Parce qu'on sait très bien que la Coupe d'Europe, on va la jouer peut-être qu'une fois. Et qu'il ne faut pas, parce que demain on fait la Coupe d'Europe, de changer de modèle économique, parce que dans le football ça va très vite, et on peut être vite là comme on peut vite redescendre.
There is almost a grassroots feeling to Stade Brestois, which makes their ascension to European competitions all the more beautiful. The players don't always show up at Francis Leblay by bus. Instead, sometimes they park their luxury vehicles at the local school and enter the stadium through a back door. Their training sessions aren't closed off behind gigantic walls as if they're hiding state secrets. Instead, anyone can watch them train, and kids provide their own commentary as their now European heroes run through crossing drills. But what makes this story even more incredible is that it's a representation of why we watch football, why we watch sport in general. Those irrational hopes and dreams that live in all of us, whether it's thinking you can be league champions when there's almost no chance of it, or hoping to defeat the strongest club in the league in a cup final when deep down you know you don't stand a chance. Or even within the 90 minutes, that thought at the back of your mind that maybe, just maybe, you can come back from 3-0 down when all hope is lost. These feelings and their payoff all come from the same place where Stade Brestois' achievement was born. If a team with 5% of the budget of PSG can qualify for the Champions League, then if anything, Stade Brestois' achievement reminds us that those irrational dreams of success are still possible, that football isn't always pay to win, that anyone really can make it to the greatest club competition in the world. It's so rare that we get to live these dreams that Stade Brestois 29 and their supporters have experienced, and hopefully the journey to get there will be remembered as fondly as their arrival. The Pirates of Ligue 1 stealing from the rich clubs and laughing about it.